Hello, I'm Professor Bustillo-Booth. Thank you for joining me. In this video session, I will go over the different business degree pathways you may choose from as you move forward with your education plan here at Pierce College. While this session will be generally for those who are pursuing business, you may also find that if you are still exploring which pathway to choose, there will be elements here that will be useful to you. If you do not already have a pen and notepad, I invite you to go find some now so that you can take some notes and that you will be ready with questions to sit down and ask your advisor so that you can make an informed decision. Let's go ahead and get started. We will begin this discussion with the end in mind, where I will go over the purpose of this session and then go into some disclaimers and just some reminders on some things that are just good for you to do. I will then go into some definitions so that we can clarify the differences among the various business degree pathways, as well as for you to have the language you need in order to be a partner in crafting an education plan with your advisor. I will then end with some considerations on how you go forward with a decision-making process. By the end of this session, you will be able to distinguish the differences among the various business pathways, understand the intent of each pathway, conduct a cost-benefit analysis to determine the best pathway for you, and become a partner in crafting an education plan with your advisor. By being informed about your journey, the goal is to minimize surprises and facilitate an efficient completion of your desired degree. Although this session will go through quite a bit of information, it is not intended to take the place of researching program requirements which you will have to do yourself, or meeting with your advisor or program navigator to explore options and craft an education plan, or updating your advisor or program navigator should your interests or plans change. Please be sure to partner with your advisor or program navigator throughout your journey at the college. We want to help you succeed. Also, I want to be clear that this session does not go into program specifics. That will be something you will need to do as part of your research. Now, one of the good things to do is to reflect on your goals in the context of industry trends so that you can make an informed decision. One of these sites is called BLS.gov, or the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and it houses a lot of good information that will help you learn about the occupations that you may be interested in and whether or not these jobs are in demand or in decline, and what to expect in terms of pay, or even the kind of education that it requires. For example, in the fourth tab called Publication is an area called Occupational Outlook Handbook. And when you go there, you can start researching particular occupations. For example, I clicked Human Resource Specialist, and it gives me a summary of pay, the number of jobs expected in a certain time. It also will give me information about what they do, what kind of work environment, how to become one, and so on. So there's a lot of good information at bls.gov. Another site is called onetonline.org. It also gives you a lot of information about occupations and what to expect on a day-to-day basis, the kinds of skills and knowledge that are required for a particular kind of job. Another site is WOIS.org. It will give you similar information and also other information that you may find at BLS or at ONET Online. Now, at WOIS.org, you can dive into the site up to a degree. In order to go deeper into the site, you will need to get a passcode that's available to you through a college success instructor or through your advisor. As you learn more about your occupations, industry trends, as well as the degrees you may be considering, please be sure to consider some of the questions that I have placed here. There are others, of course, and these will become more relevant later on when we conduct a cost-benefit analysis. Another good to do is to explore and become knowledgeable about program specifics very early on. You don't want to be surprised about the kinds of courses you need to take and the kinds of requirements that are being asked of you in order to fulfill your degree. It's also important to discuss or update your education plan with your advisor and not to do this yourself. That is because you may not be aware of some programmatic changes and or aware of the most efficient way to move forward. So please be sure that you connect with your advisor from time to time to make sure that you are still on the best path forward. Now let's go over some definitions. And if these are already familiar to you, please go ahead and skip this section and go to about halfway into this video where I go over the different business degree pathways. The first of these terms is pathway, and just like it sounds, it's a way to achieve a specific or desired result or a course of action. And a pathway can lead you towards earning an associate or bachelor's degree. And for each of these pathways, they'll have program or programs. And this is a specific area of study with a set of planned courses to complete. So for example, in a degree plan, there will be a set of planned courses and their requirements to earn a degree. And the requirements can be something like you'll have to earn a 2.0 grade minimum in order for a class to count towards your degree. And then these degree plans can be like an associate degree, and that is an academic degree that is usually fulfilled in the first 2 years of college, and they usually represent classes that begin with 100 or 200. So for example, English 101 or Math 207. And each of these associate degrees will have different kinds of credits. And one of the credits is a GER, or a general education requirement, and those are foundational courses in, say, for example, communications, humanities, natural sciences, and social sciences, and they're meant to prepare students to have transferable, well-rounded, and basic skills. The balance of those credits then are going to be GTEs, or general transfer electives, that can satisfy degree requirements or will be able to transfer to another institution, but may or may not necessarily satisfy specific bachelor degree requirements. Now, some of these associate degrees will end with the letters DTA, which stands for Direct Transfer Agreement, and sometimes also with the letters MRP, which stands for Major Related Program, which I'll discuss here in a moment. These are interinstitutional agreement between a community college and a university, which outlines the specific courses a student must take in order to be eligible for transfer. It does not actually guarantee admission, but it allows you to be competitive in the transfer process. Now, an MRP is based on the DTA, and this helps students prepare to transfer into high-demand bachelor's degree programs. And again, it has specific courses for you to take in order to be eligible for transfer. Let me now go over the different kinds of bachelor's degrees you will likely encounter as a business major. One of which is the Bachelor of Arts, which is generally awarded for an undergraduate program in the liberal arts or sciences. And a Business of Arts in Business Administration will fall under this category. Another degree is that of the Bachelor of Science, and like its cousin Bachelor of Arts, it is also an undergraduate program, and in this case, in a specialized field of study, which requires more math and science. So for example, if you can get a Bachelor of Science in supply chain management, because it may require more math and science than a general Bachelor of Arts. Another degree is that of the Bachelor of Applied Science. This is also an undergraduate award given to those studying in the professional or technical fields, and it focuses on practical application of theories and knowledge to solve problems. It is designed to bridge non-DTA associate degrees towards a bachelor's degree, so that students who have this kind of an associate degree do not necessarily have to start all over again to gain their baccalaureate. And students will typically take their 2 academic years of upper level coursework. Those are courses that begin with 300 and 400 at the community or technical colleges that have been authorized to issue this degree. There are other universities like Central Washington University who also have been authorized to issue the BAS. Now that we have the definitions out of the way, we can start talking about the different pathways and your journey to making a decision on which pathway to choose. When you first enter Pierce College, as a person interested in business, you will declare a business intent. In your first 3 to 6 classes, you will start with foundational courses in English, math, college success, and perhaps an elective like Business 101. Ideally, by the first quarter and no later than the second quarter, you will either affirm your business intent that you started with or clarify your path given the 3 different pathways that are before you. These pathways are an AA-DTA MRP, which intends to transfer directly to a specific university, or an AAS, which intends to prepare students to have competitive workforce skills, or an AA-T, which also prepares students to have workforce skills and have enough credits to transfer to select universities and colleges to a particular kind of baccalaureate. Because each of these pathways has a different intent, each will then have a different mix of GER and GTE courses. Regardless of the program, all of them will have a minimum of 90 credits. Some will have more. You may also graduate with more credits than the program requires, and why it's so important for you to have your business intent clarified in the first 2 quarters so that you don't have excess credits. For those of you who intend to get a baccalaureate degree, it's important to note that you will need about 60 GER credits to gain that bachelor's degree, and that most, if not all, are expected to be gained at the AA level. Now let's look at these associate degrees more closely so that we can see the mix of how GER and GT credits are constructed to serve their intent. We'll call Pathway A the AA and DTA MRP, which is designed to transfer to 4-year universities. Pathway B, the AAS, which is designed to develop skills now for immediate employment, and Pathway C, which is also designed for immediate employment, as well as to transfer to select colleges and universities. You can see here that the distribution of GER and GTE credits are designed to serve each of the pathway intents. For example, in Lane A, you'll see that most of the GER credits will have been fulfilled by the time one gets their AA-DTA. That is because business courses will then be taken at the university. The AAS is not intended to transfer, but instead prepares for immediate employment after receiving the degree. Therefore, most of its credits focus on developing relevant industry skills and positioning its graduates to be competitive in the marketplace. In Lane C, you can see that it splits the difference between A and B. It has a significant number of skills-based courses to prepare graduates for employment after 2 years, while having enough GER credits to transfer to select colleges and universities. Please keep in mind that the number of credits you see here may vary depending on your education plan and are subject to change. However, the distribution are generally representative of what to expect. Let me go ahead and pan out to the bigger picture so that we can see the pathways in their full lengths. As you can see here, Lane A leads towards a BA or BS in business and to middle wage and higher paying jobs. Lane B leads towards immediate employment to positions requiring at least an associate degree. Lane C prepares for work after 2 years and proceeds towards a BAS in a specialized field of business and helps graduates transition into higher paying jobs. Please keep in mind that each of the bachelor's degrees have specific program requirements and that it would be good for you to learn about them before proceeding. I also want to make sure that this is clear, that if you are on Lane B, it does not mean you cannot pursue a bachelor's degree. It does mean that you will have to make up for classes required in the BA, BS, or BAS to transfer to those programs. Now, let's take a look at what a Bachelor of Applied Science in a specialized field of business might look like. Here, you can see a select set. For example, CWU offers the BAS in Information Technology and Administrative Management. This is in contrast to, say, a BA in Business Administration, which is a broad field of study in business. Other ones are like the BAS in Applied Management, Operations Management, Applied Accounting, Data Analytics, Organizational Management, International Business, Marketing and Entrepreneurship, and there are many others. If you're wondering which of these is more broad than others, it would be arguably the BAS in Applied Management, which is offered across several colleges in the state. Now, since all baccalaureate degrees are different, it is important for you to carefully research the requirements of the program you wish to enter and to speak directly with an advisor from your program of interest. Just because you have an AAS-T does not mean that all courses within that particular AAS-T will transfer to all BAS programs. Just be sure to work with your advisor or program navigator and account for programmatic requirements early. This will minimize frustration later and facilitate an efficient degree completion towards your intended pathway. Now that you have a good sense of what each pathway entails, let's talk about how to make a good decision. Ideally, you will have made your decision by the first or second quarter so that you can immediately fulfill a program requirement and graduate efficiently. And in order to do that, you will have had to consider certain factors. And you can answer some of these questions that you see here or other questions that may come up. But what I want to focus now on is how to conduct a general cost benefits analysis so that you can weigh your options and how they may serve you best. In order to proceed with your analysis, you are going to need some information, particularly around the costs, and those are the things that you give up, and the benefits, and those are the things you hope to gain. Gain like salary over time and your ability to enter a profession or progress within that profession, and the kinds of other choices you may be able to gain. And then you will organize the information according to each pathway. So for example, in lane A, you will put all the costs on one side and the benefits on the other, as you see here. And you'll do the same for choice B and choice C. As you can see here, some of these elements will have actual numbers in them, and I'll just plug them in, right? And other things are going to be more subjective, and go ahead and just write them down for you, and they can be a sentence or a phrase. And this is an iterative process, meaning the first time you put this on may be a little bit more, messy, say, for example, but then you will organize them and order them according to how you value each. Once you've organized your important decision factors, and only the most important would need to be underneath each of these columns, you will then need to evaluate them across in a meaningful way. And one way to do that is to assign them a scale. So for example, in choice A, you would, from a scale of 1 to 10, evaluate each of these factors and how meaningful they are to you. So for example, the cost parts might be a little bit more objective because you might be able to find that information a little bit more easily. So in terms of time, how much something would cost over the length of the program, all the way, say, for example, from an associate degree all the way to a bachelor's degree. You'll want to make sure you add that all up, and the rest of it, right? And then in the benefits, some of these are going to be a lot more objective. And so, for example, you can find out what an annual salary might be and, how meaningful that is to you on a scale of 1 to 10. And then politics, the idea there is to be in a position of responsibility, like a manager, and to what degree the credential will allow you to be in that position. And then you'll just add them all up. And you'll do the same for choice B and choice C. And this process should yield you some numbers. And then you'll just sit back and say, what are you willing to give up for the benefits? Now, this process is imperfect, but it is far better than going by the seat of your pants or by your gut. This is an informed decision-making process, and it can be further informed by talking with your advisors and others who may have already gone through this journey. Let's go ahead and summarize. In order to make a good decision about which pathway to choose, you will need to learn about each of these pathways and also reflect on your goals, particularly in the context of industry trends. You will then conduct a cost-benefit analysis that will help determine to you which of these pathways best serves your needs, and that you do this in concert and in partnership with your advisor. This brings us to the end of this video session. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you found some good information here as you move forward on your education pathway to success. Thank you again, and good luck.